The NBA never saw this coming, as one of the greatest point guards in NBA history is now available after he was recently cut by his team, and this could potentially be an opportunity to right the wrongs, rewrite history, and for the Los Angeles Lakers to go back in time and make a move that they missed out on nearly 15 years ago. Welcome to Lakers Digest. My name is Hunter Pitcoff, where we cover everything surrounding your Los Angeles Lakers, whether it's rumors, reports, game coverage, post-game coverage, everything in between. It's going to be right here on this channel for your purple and gold. If you want to keep up with all that, hit the subscribe button because, look, as I accidentally teased what we're going to be talking about today, nearly 7 out of 10 of you watching our content are not subscribed. I mean, look, this is free content, free around-the-clock coverage. Doesn't cost you a dime. So just hit that subscribe button. This is where you want to be, showing your Lakers the entirety of this season. But before we get into the meat and potatoes of the video, let's just set the table a little bit here. As CP3, as many of you know, Chris Paul is going home. Now, what does that necessarily mean, going home? Well, it was when he shocked the NBA world and just sent this out, posted it about 2:40 in the morning on his Instagram story saying, quote, "Just found out I'm being sent home with the deuces." So what does that necessarily mean for Chris Paul? Well, we found out what that meant hours later because that was, again, in the middle of the night. As we did find out that Chris Paul confirmed by the Los Angeles Clippers that he will no longer be with the team. He's being released, and that Ty Lue said that the partnership between the team and Chris Paul, quote, wasn't a good fit, and to not take him out of context here, Ty Lue also saying, again, the head coach of the Clippers, saying, "I don't like it. It didn't work out like we thought it would. I don't like it for CP, but it's just not a good fit." He understood that the organization, they made the choice. We'll go forward. We got to see what we can do. So, again, an absolute disaster of a signing for the Los Angeles Clippers, which is fine by me because the Clippers will always be the Clippers, and they're always going to mess it up no matter how good you think it looks. You know, they thought having all of the guys that were good in 2010 be on their team was a good idea. We saw the Lakers do that. It didn't work. It sure as hell wasn't going to work having the oldest team in the roster for the Clippers either. So, Lawrence Frank, who is the team's president, he said, quote, "We are parting ways with Chris. He'll no longer be with the team, and that we will work with him on the next step of his career," whatever the hell that means, but all right. Chris is a legendary Clipper who's had an historic career. I want to make one thing clear. No one is blaming Chris for our underperformance. All right. And I accept responsibility for the record we have right now. There are a lot of reasons that we've struggled. We're grateful for the impact Chris has made on the franchise, which, I don't know, to me, seems like you're kind of just scapegoating him and blaming him. But I digress. But anyways, it gets kind of more into it here, as Lawrence Frank also said, that Chris has a good leadership style. He's led a lot of teams. Some moves you make, roster moves you make, you have great intentions. Some work and some don't. I own that. This one just didn't work at this time. And then a funny little Instagram post from Chris Paul posting a FaceTime chat with his buddies, DeAndre Jordan. I didn't realize him and Blake Griffin were tight. I guess they have wrote their wrongs. Those two supposedly did not really like each other like that. But it seems like it's all smiles and giggles there with those three guys. So I guess if you are a Clipper fan, you happen to be watching this because you hate the Lakers so much, well, there's your little Clipper shout out there. I do think Chris Paul kind of was done a little bit dirty here for a guy who only averaged nearly 3 points per game and ultimately gets cut. Don't think that's the reason you are losing basketball games. Sorry, Clippers. But they did actually release some the drama potentially happening here, as well as Shams Charania reported that Chris Paul's leadership clashed with the team. He had not spoken to Lue for several weeks, which is crazy because that is literally your head coach. And then Chris Haynes reporting that Chris Paul had requested a meeting with Lue to discuss the perception he was a negative presence on the team, and Ty Lue refused to meet with him. So again, we're talking a lot about the Clippers here. Some of you are probably pulling your hair out like, why are you talking about the Clippers so much? This is a freaking Lakers channel. This has nothing to do with the Lakers. Well, that's going to bring us to our next point here. Can the Lakers, and should the Lakers, fulfill the prophecy and finally bring Chris Paul here to this side of Los Angeles in the Lakers? I don't know why that is not going away. But anyways, here it is. But should the Lakers ultimately do this and decide that this is the time to finally bring Chris Paul here with the purple and gold instead of the blue and red? That sounds disgusting. Clippers. Ugh. I hope you guys don't actually call them that because that is awful. But for the Lakers, is this a move that actually makes sense? So let me set the scene for you. Maybe you guys had forgotten about it. Maybe you're a bit of a younger basketball fan, didn't really live through this. But in 2011, when the Lakers were right at the peak of the end of Kobe's career, where he was still pre-Achilles injury, still one of the best players in the NBA, the Lakers were on the cusp. They just came off of winning a championship in 2010. They fell short in 2011. They were looking for that next move to bring this team over the top. And they were wondering, what is that move going to be? And they had agreed to a 3-team deal with the New Orleans Pelicans and the Houston Rockets that would have completely shifted the landscape of the NBA. It would have brought Chris Paul to the Lakers. It would have sent Pau Gasol to the Houston Rockets with Lamar Odom. And essentially the Hornets were kind of settling for picks. Chris Paul did not want to be with the Hornets anymore. His time there, in his opinion, ran out, and he wanted to head out west and be under the bright lights with the Los Angeles Lakers. All 3 teams had agreed to a deal. However, at the time, the New Orleans Hornets were in the midst of selling their team. So the interim owner, acting owner, was David Stern, who was the former commissioner of the NBA. And of course, rest in peace, David. But I am going to bash you a little bit here. As we all know what happened, he decided to veto the trade, which has pretty much never been done in NBA history, at least of this caliber. As David Stern said, for basketball reasons, this was a bad basketball trade, and that this move was unacceptable. And Chris Paul was shortly traded to the Los Angeles Clippers just days after that trade was vetoed. So we missed out on an opportunity to see a Chris Paul, Kobe Bryant backcourt for the Los Angeles Lakers. We did see it for Team USA, but we did not see it in purple and gold, which for Laker fans, that is what matters for us, obviously. So we never saw that coming. But is the writing on the wall for the Lakers to bring in Chris Paul now, 14 years after that veto trade? Now, they could do it if they want. It wouldn't cost them a lot. He'll be a vet minimum player. They have a roster spot open. They probably would have to cut someone or move somebody, but they could bring in Chris Paul if they want. However, this is not 2011. LeBron James is still playing like it is 2011, but other than that, it ain't 2011. As Chris Paul is past his prime, I think he can help a team. He was pretty good with the Spurs last year. This is not the team that makes sense for him. Now, he did want to stay in Los Angeles. The Clippers made more sense than the Lakers did, but the Lakers still don't make sense. Luka Doncic is their primary ball handler. They have him. They have Austin Reaves. They have LeBron. They have Marcus Smart. They have Gabe Vincent. All these guys are, at this point of their careers, better players than Chris Paul is. And maybe you can argue Gabe Vincent or not. But 4 of those guys are definitely better players at this point. And the Lakers just don't need somebody like Chris Paul on this team. They have leadership. They have playmaking. They probably have the best playmaking trio in the NBA by a mile. And they don't need Chris Paul here. So that is my 2 cents on it. Personally, I don't think it's a good move. Now, the Lakers will be linked to him because they will be linked to everybody under the sun, and they will put Chris Paul in that category as well. Also, him wanting to stay here in Los Angeles, that would entice him a little bit more to want to play here with the purple and gold. But again, I don't think it's a good idea for the Lakers. You know, buyers beware. This is not the move to make. If they're going to make a move, go get a wing. Do not go get Chris Paul. That is not the move that sets you over the top. But again, guys, look, we keep it a buck here. You probably saw the title. You probably saw even the intro video. Thought I was going to make some crazy takes. No, we keep it real here on Los Angeles Lakers coverage here on Lakers Digest because we have been following this team our entire lives. So if you want to keep up here with true Laker fans and anyone in between, look, anybody's honestly welcome. If you're a Clipper fan and you're coping with the dysfunction of your franchise, you want to watch a Laker video, that's more than fine. Because, look, 70% of you watching are not subscribed. And I know I hammer the point home all the time, but look, you're getting free around-the-clock coverage surrounding your Los Angeles Lakers as my buttons here are not working for some reason, but you still see my face anyway. Again, this is the place you want to be for the Los Angeles Lakers. Everything under the sun, it will be covered here on Lakers Digest.